Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy, and in the studio with us today is Randy Kemp and Phillip Empey of the musical group Artificial Red, whose music is a blend of original contemporary guitar arrangements with expressive flute interpretations. Hello, Randy and Phillip, and welcome back to Native Talk Arizona.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad to be here.
Super excited to have you back.
Yeah.
And Phillip, I've only met you briefly, but Randy, I've known you for a long time. So it's great to have you back with us.
Sounds great.
So before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourselves, your journey, how you got interested in music, and how you came to come together to do Artificial Red.
We'll do a tag match. You want to go first or second?
Be my guest.
Oh, yeah, I'll go first. Well, my name is Randy Kemp. I'm Muskogee Creek, Choctaw, and Yuchi. I'm originally from Oklahoma. I live out in Mesa now. I live with my wife, Beverly, and my daughter, Raquel, and Raven, who are also artists in their own right, and so on. And I'm a retired environmental graphic designer senior from Arizona State University. So after 30 years of doing that at the campus, I called it quits and said, hey, let's do some music and art full time. And I didn't know what I was talking about. It's like, it's more work. It's more work than anything else, because then you're your own sort of business and your own representation of all these things. So I guess I asked for it. So, yeah.
And I remember when you retired.
Yeah.
And so now you're even busier and doing more things than you were.
Right. Traveling around and just doing more presentations. And people are kind of more receptive about music and performance and stuff. And so it allows me to go to places that I've never visited before, and being able to share the music and so on.
And I know you're incredibly well respected and very requested. I mean, people always talk about you. Everybody I talk to across the country. So it's great to have you back on.
That's great. Great.
Okay. And Phillip, let's hear about your story.
Well, I came from a musical family. Always had guitars and drums around the house. And so I started seriously taking guitar serious probably around 15 years old. And, I started with classical guitar, then electric, of course. And just tinkered around for it. I taught guitar when I was in my early 20s when I was going to college, and moved out to Arizona probably around 17 years ago. And I was introduced to Randy, was a big fan of his flute playing. And for years, I was always harassing him for, hey, when's your next CD coming out?
Mm-hmm.
And the opportunity came up for me to, he was looking for another guitar player, and I sent over a little demo that I with my playing, with a little bit of flute playing that I do. And, he goes, no, let's get together. And then we started there probably about 2 years ago now, just over 2 years ago. I think
Yeah.
playing.
It's about 2 years now.
And we slowly put a little album together, and here we are.
Actually, I didn't listen to that demo tape, so I don't even know how you play. So I took a chance.
Just like how I looked.
I said, his resume's good. I'll take him.
So I know Phillip just mentioned that he played starting at age 15. Randy, how old were you when you started playing music or getting interested in it?
So I don't know my math. I have Indian math in my head about years. So I'll say 35 years plus, self-taught flautist and just playing for myself. So I never intended to play in the public eye or do even presentations and so on. Flute was just a way of utilizing time before I actually did my studio work, which is painting, printmaking, mixed media stuff. And
which is beautiful, by the way. I have some of your pieces at home.
Great. Wow.
They're in my living room.
I'll have to visit the museum then, I guess. Yeah. And then I just learned how to play my own tunes in a way, because I wasn't quite sure how other flute players played or how they made sounds and so on. And I was just learning how to play the scale, and I was learning how to, just make odd sounds. And that's what I thought they were, odd sounds, and didn't know about anything about the flute business of music or performance or any of that stuff. So I probably spent about 3 years under wraps, just not letting anyone know that I played the flute. So it was about that time I started like, well, let's do a couple of open mics night and go there, and no one knew me or anything like that. So I just kind of play my stuff and see what happens, and just to be out in the public. But it was really never anything like that. And it only really happened when my daughter and I, Raquel, put a poem together, and I thought, wow, this is probably for us. Let's do a recording. So we contacted the Canyon Records folks and said, we'd like to record our first CD, and I just came up with the name Artificial Red, and it was just me, my daughter, and flutes. So she read the poem in the recording, and that's how it actually all started. It's just that we were thinking that, well, we'll have a recording forever in that sense, and that's all we need to do. That was my top of my ambition for music, was just do a recording so that she could have it, and so our family could have it, and so on. And that's how Artificial Red was kind of born, because we were kind of co-producing this. And so yeah, that's really how I started. And then I thought, well, I can start playing this out, me and Raquel actually started hitting the stage a little bit, doing a little gigs here and there, and her reading the poem really set the tone for us. And she was a big part of that first CD. So yeah.
What is the name? You said you just came up with the name Artificial Red. Any meaning behind it, or just?
It's kind of like, as an artist, my first love is art, painting, and printmaking, and mixed media. And then I began to understand that we have a problem in the art world of people misappropriating our work, our designs, our materials, and saw that as a problem to distinguish the difference between that and our authentic Native American or indigenous work. So when I came up with the idea about Artificial Red, it meant that it was a word to use to identify false or designs that were misappropriated. So whenever you saw a plastic rock or turquoise in a ring, we identify that as Artificial Red. So it was just a way of identifying things, and it kind of stuck. And then I thought, well, what else out there is Artificial Red? Oh, besides the drink and the red colors and so on. I just that art. It fits art really good. So let's stick with that. So.
And how many years has that been?
Oh man, there's math again. It's 2007, I believe. Yeah. That me and Raquel did a recording for that CD. So yeah.
So wow. So in terms of your flute, is it a traditional flute? And forgive me, I know very little about flutes and flautists.
Me too.
Is it like a traditional commercial flute, or is it more indigenous focused, or is it?
Well, here's the story that I can tell you that it really doesn't really matter. It's really about the person who's playing the flute, the mindset of that, and how you play it. But I really wanted that connection too, to understand as an indigenous person what my connection was to the flute. And so, well, what do you do when that happens and you have questions? You call your mom. So I called my mom, and she was back in Oklahoma, and I said, hey, Mom, I need to know what our tribal connection is to flute making, flute playing, all of those things. So I said, I'll call you back in about 2 weeks, and so on. And I called her back, and she says, well, you know what? I talked to a few people, and I was told that river cane was one of the designs that we started out with back in the Southeast, which kind of puts us in Macon, Georgia, and Columbus, Georgia, in that area at the time. So they had rivers there that they would collect river canes from. And it wasn't like someone playing the flute like in melodies or romanticized and so on. It was really just notes. Because these were naturally made flutes, so you could only get so many notes out of it. And that's how they, started playing this. And she told me that it also was made as a calling device. So in that area, there's a lot of forests, lots of trees, and people would go out to collect materials and so on. And they would go in and we'd want them to come back into the township, but yelling at them or yelling for a call would not travel very far into the forest. So that's where the flute came in. It had a higher pitch and sound, and they could hear that, and then they knew that it was time to come back into the township. So it's like a calling device. So once I heard that was pretty much the ideal behind me playing, just understanding that this flute device was a calling device to anyone who could hear this flute. You get people's attention, and they will come around to see who's making that noise. And whether or not it is noise or music, it's kind of up to them. And but I realized that then. And so now today I have a collection of probably, I'm afraid to say this, probably about 40 different flutes in different capacities. Like some are put together, some are kind of broken down, some are mixed matched, because I'm just trying to find the sound. But because me and Philip play two instruments, he's got his guitar. I wanted to match the keys, so I do buy commercial flutes, and then I don't know if I can give them a plug, High Spirits, and they're performance flutes, and so I can stay in key with Philip when we're playing, and that's what allows us to kind of create these sounds. But I also have handmade flutes by other artists and craftsmen who I want to support because they're indigenous people with knowledge that I need to support them and sort of keep them going with doing these flute designs. And so I have several flutes that I have bought to support them. So that's what I have. And
40 flutes is a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
What does Bev say?
I hide them around the house, so she doesn't know.
And Philip, how many instruments do you have? A lot also? 40?
It might be. I'm a strange collector of any odd type of instrument, mainly guitars, from nylon string classical to flamenco guitars to different resonator guitars to little dulcimers, you name it. And that doesn't include the percussion instruments. I play around with. I tinker around mainly with all these various instruments, but my main instrument's guitar, the nylon string, flamenco, Spanish style.
Those are harder to hide.
You know what? They stack in the closet pretty well.
So, Philip, what is your oldest guitar?
The oldest playable guitar is probably the one I had. My dad bought me when electric guitar back when I was like 15 years old. And that's probably 85.
So it's not very old.
No, but I've had
pretty new.
Yeah, I've had other guitars I inherited from my father. From 59 Les Pauls to, and that's probably the oldest one. But it was never playable.
Oh, okay, okay.
It was kind of just a family inherited family, relic, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's passed down.
It's interesting that when the first time I met Philip, we started talking a little bit about our music and stuff, and it was during, I guess, the COVID time, and we were still trying to figure out each other, but he brought all these instruments and stuff, which was really fascinating. He was just sharing the different sounds that it makes, and we were sitting in my garage and like trying to find a sound, but he brought all kinds of stuff that was like, what where is he getting all this? I thought he owned a music store at the time. So.
That's pretty cool, as long as you have space, right?
Yeah.
Keep all your collections.
I'm lucky enough I can purchase these type of instruments and play around with it. A lot of times, I might play around with it a little bit and it just goes in the closet, and a couple years later I'll drag it back out. If we're doing a recording project, just experiment. That's a big part of what we do is experiment with different sounds, and we're still kind of trying to figure out what we're all about when we're playing together.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it's only been a couple years, you said, right?
Yeah, it's all very fresh, and we have a lot of ideas, but it's like how to get it out of us and how to get it on in the recording, so to speak. And we're slow. We're in no hurry, though.
Great.
We're just having fun doing the playing and all these, especially like radio interviews and stuff.
So, question for you, Randy. So, and I don't know, Philip, maybe you have something to add to this. How do you incorporate your indigenous background into your music, the recordings and performances?
That's a good question. The only way, maybe it doesn't show in any of this at all about how I think. I think just thinking about indigenous thoughts and ways and keeping in mind about our traditions is what motivates me in sort of recording. Because I think at the end of the day, when I look at recordings, I want to say that is this the best I can do, and does it represent indigenous people well? So it's in a different kind of character of how I think. I just want this recording that we do to represent us well. So we're doing the best we can, even though we're kind of new at this, knowing each other in that relationship. But it's really about hitting the music line that affects a lot of people. We want to be able to reach out and, if anything, I think that's really where the indigenous part of the call or the gathering is what these music does. Playing Native American flute and Spanish guitar is a great combination. And I may be not answering the question, but that's all I have in the tank. So there you go.
I think it's a good answer. Philip, anything you want to add? Or
No.
No?
Randy summed it up very well.
Okay.
Ta-da.
So I know you've got a new album, Raven Speaks, which is here, and it's beautiful. Randy, did you do the artwork for it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so for our listeners that can't see it, obviously, it is beautiful, and you'll have to check it out on their website, which we'll talk about in a minute. So again, the title is Raven Speaks, and what does the title mean, Raven Speaks?
Oh, yeah, that's another deep thing. It's always deeper, I guess, with us. I mean, or for me anyway, as an artist, it must have some thought behind it. It must have a visual. It's all of that. But my son, who's named Raven, I've done a lot of themes with the raven itself. And on this cover, you see a larger raven, kind of pseudo-human on the face. And then there are these little red ravens on the shoulders and on his head and so on. It's about really raising a raven, and that could be literally raising my son from a young man to an older man, or sharing knowledge with him. And it is about how Indian people are raising their kids. It's about making sure we pass down knowledge or traditions and so on. So I think it was interesting that when we titled this Raven Speaks, it meant that, well, now my son, who is very artistic, he studied at Arizona. He did study at Arizona State University, but he also went to the San Francisco Art Institute and studied art and technology. So he speaks a different language of art and music. And so I kind of attribute that to the title, Raven Speaks, and so on.
Pretty cool. And Raquel is also very artistic.
Oh, very, very. I don't know if it's competitive between them two, so I just hang on. It's like, well, what are you guys up to? And it's a new project and so on. And Raquel is just doing an amazing job on her own right. She's a metalsmith, a jeweler, and is living in Tulsa, Oklahoma now, and doing well. So she's I don't know if I could say this on the air, but yeah, she's going to be getting married. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah,
congratulations.
A gentleman named Ryan, and they live in Tulsa with their little doggy Ginsburg, and so they're pretty amazing. So we're going to be going back there to visit with them too. So, and maybe I'll come back with some ideas about some more music and art and so on.
I love the cover, so you'll have to check it out on his website since I can't accurately describe it, and he described it a little bit. So I know that you've been most recently nominated for the Best Instrumental Recording and Best Live Performance Music Video at the Native American Music Awards. And so since you've told me about what Raven Speaks and what it means, what does that mean to be nominated, and how does the voting work? And I know you've been nominated before, and I believe you've won, correct?
Just been nominated.
Yeah, but I know you've won some other stuff, but it's quite an honor to be nominated. Yeah. It's a big, super big deal.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to be nominated? How does the voting work? And tell us more about the Native American Music Awards.
Okay. Well, there's actually 3 albums that we produced. The first one with me and Raquel was nominated for Best Spoken Word, and we thought that was amazing just to get that far, and think that what we did was looked at as something rewarding. So we thought, well, that's it. We should stop and and leave it there, right?
That's pretty good. Your first time out of the gate, right?
Yeah, right.
You get nominated.
Right.
I don't know.
And
pretty
then
impressive.
Our second CD was Res Radio, and I recorded that with Dean Yazzie, and we got another nomination, and it was also for spoken word, but also Best Instrumental, and that CD was nominated here in the U.S., but then we also submitted it to the Indigenous Music Awards in Canada. So I went to Canada to see if we would win anything there, and it was just great to hear our name announced and that our project was there too. So this CD now, Raven Speaks with Phillip Empey, it's like I was really excited about this. I mean, we put out this CD probably, I don't know, it took us 6 months maybe. I'm not exaggerating, but I think it was pretty quick.
That's quick.
What do you think? What
yeah,
was
just start with an idea, and we're throwing back ideas back and forth, and we slowly just compiled a bunch of songs. Kind of just came to fruition, that we liked, and we're just recording stuff we liked, and we thought it was kind of cool sounding, and it was a little bit different, that you typically hear.
Yeah,
and. I have a different approach to music, and Randy definitely brings his approach, and we just create this musical rapport, us coming together.
Where do you record?
Oh, I was going to say, do you remember that we asked you, Native Health, that we could use their building? Yeah.
I remember it was like on a Sunday or something.
Yeah. And there was nobody there,
yeah.
and we went out there and recorded in your building.
Hey, that's awesome. I'll have to tell Walter.
And we played in between the air conditioner coming on and off. Yeah.
But you said it took 6 months to get it, get your material
just
together?
for us to be on the same page to get together, because Randy's out traveling, and just trying to get them in the room. I have my own little studio that we record on, and I have all the time in the world to do it. Where Randy, he's harder to pin down to get him. And once we ever do that, everything just came together, and it's relatively quickly. It's not as long as it sounded like 6 months. It was more like once I had my parts down, I brought them to Randy. He was able to lay down his parts, and really the hardest part was just mixing and mastering and all that was the most difficult part of it.
It's like easy to play with Philip. He lays down some great music, guitar sounds, and I just find the melodies that he plays really good and easy to play with the flute. So I had no problems either. I mean, we started putting songs together in the garage and said, okay, we'll keep that one. I like that one. We'll keep this one, and we'll work on this one. And then when it came time to record, a lot of the recording happened in one shot. That doesn't really happen in music all the time. It's like, take 2, take 3, take 4. But yeah, it's like I was so familiar with the way Philip played that it made it easy. So
That's awesome.
So when you hear it, when you play that music, listen, it'll be easy to listen to.
We'll continue our interview with Randy Kemp and Phillip Empey of the musical group Artificial Red after this short break. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 2423 West Dunlap Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org. Native Talk Arizona returns after this song. You are listening to Indian School Road by Randy Kemp.
You said that you met during the pandemic, right? Or you worked in the garage before the pandemic?
Yeah, before
and then you
that.
worked in the
Yeah,
garage.
I've probably known Randy 10 years at
A
least.
long time.
Okay.
He was stalking me a
Yeah.
while. It's back then.
At all the markets, I'd stop by, chat, and
Yeah. I didn't know though. I didn't know his caliber of playing, and we were just talking and so let's talk music, talk shop, and so on like that. And it's like and then when I finally got to hear his demo in that sort of sense, I was like, oh wow, this guy. Let's see where this goes. And so we kind of made it happen, and that's the way it happens, I guess.
Pretty cool. See, things happen for a reason, right?
you never know what life's going to give you, bring your way.
Well,
And
doors open for a reason.
yeah.
And you were stalking him for a reason.
No, it was always on my bucket list to play with a really good flute player, and it worked out.
Oh man, here comes all the accolades.
I mean,
and stuff.
I've had opportunities to play with other flute players, but we never really were able to connect. And when I met up with Randy, our first meeting playing together, it was like, no, Randy's like, no, I think we might have something. I was like, I agree.
It's alive.
It's like something's there. We didn't know what it was, and we just kind of, kept on meeting up and playing a little bit. And I got a call from him. Hey, you want to do this one gig over at the Gamage Theater? It was my first
there you
playing
go.
with him.
I threw
And like
him.
a 3 days notice. And
Like Gamage, that's not a little
Threw him
gig.
into the fire.
Yeah, it was like 3,000 people. It was
Yeah,
filled out.
Gamage is big.
It was the ASU convocation, and it was like I remember looking down at Philip when he was playing. He had notes on his
I made
guitar.
notes. I taped on my guitar. Well,
And I just like, oh my gosh. I said, what did I have done? I just like have Philip right here in front of all these people, and they're all listening and yelling at us, and so I'm making out. Of course, it's a convocation, so yeah. But we did great. It was a great beginning, so we knew we had something.
You also did something for Obama, didn't you?
Yeah. Actually, in 2000, here goes the numbers again.
2000-ish.
2000-ish. I was called by the folks from ASU, the events coordinators, and said, "Hey, do you play the flute still?" And I said, "I've been practicing and stuff, and we have a convocation, but we have the president coming to deliver the address." And I thought, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I don't know if it was a crank call at the time or whatever it could have been. And I didn't do my investigation about it. But yeah, I got invited and was there at the stadium. That was an experience. That was really, truly an experience because I was doing solo things at the time and didn't know really if I even should be there because, you have a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of indigenous people that are talented that could easily have done this. And so I said, well, I embraced it. I said, I'll do this and so on. But the funny thing about that whole experience was that the lady that was leading me through the whole process, just before I walked out to the across the field, told me that we have snipers in the stadium, and all above the stadium somewhere there's snipers. And I go, why are you telling me this now as I'm about to go perform and walk across the field and I'm holding what looks like flutes, and I clenched them pretty tightly and I said, oh my God, I'm just a flute player. I don't know why there's snipers. Is it for me? Yeah, so with that in mind, I walked across the field and right in the middle of the graduates on both sides of this row. And I knew some of the graduates, and they were like standing up, hey, Randy. And I was like, no, don't come near me. Don't stand up. You don't understand. There's snipers up there. And I just did not want to provoke that. And I made it across the field. Luckily, I made it across the field and got on the stage. And that's where the big experience was, seeing all the people in that stadium. I think there were 70,000 people that day because of the president. And he was over to my right, and I glanced at all the administration and the attendees. And I was like, oh my God, this is unreal to play flute in a stadium for this amount of people, and couldn't be matched again.
Pretty amazing. Did you know all the stories?
First time hearing it.
Okay.
Oh, I just made that up too. So
I did find that when I was doing the research. So, what messages do you hope to spread through your music?
I kind of see it as more of a contemporary, version of native flute and guitar, but we have still one foot in the traditional. We like to keep it, and because I get pretty crazy, with all the instruments I play and throw a lot, where it gets, the flute could easily get lost in the mix, but it's just I guess it's just the feeling of just it's more of an uplifting feeling with the Spanish guitar and the native flute, because native flute can sound, it has a certain tonality to it, and it takes you to that place for whatever reason. It could take you back 200 years just listening to it, or you can imagine that, where I always like the idea of like a desert type sounding music, and it's just, I guess it's just more of a feeling, just I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never been asked that before, as far as, but and plus we kind of keep it. I like to incorporate Randy's artwork into it, as far as like the covers, and kind of use that as a theme a lot of times, when we're playing, or that's what I have in mind when I'm writing.
Yeah, it's always good to have kind of a reference visual maybe reference to what we're doing.
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
more
the guiding light.
more of a multimedia. I guess you got the music, you got the art, and as far as philosophy behind it, it's whatever when you're listening to it, whatever feelings that come up within the person,
Yeah.
You know?
I have to explain the CD by, it's different from the other CDs. That's all I can say. It's like, well, some people who are following me, I was like, I've got 4 CDs out. It's like, well, this one's different. So I'll just say that. And it's like, what else can I say? You have to listen to it, and then I like to hear the feedback and get their response to it. And luckily, I've heard some good stuff about that. It's like, oh my gosh. I always tell them, don't listen to it while you're driving because it'll put you to sleep. And, you can't mix driving and sleeping together. So it's that good. It's that good,
Well, we can't wait to hear your music. But I know you said, so you worked together, you met before COVID, and then did a lot of things change during COVID? Or has your music evolved over the years?
It's definitely evolved. I mean, from where we started, it was more like on my part, I know, it was more simpler, more standard, song formation, intro, verse, chorus. But now it's like we're getting more into a soundscape, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Where it's just more we're trying to bring up an environment, that you might be sitting there and we want it to be thematic, kind of like soundtrack music in a movie. That's how I kind of see it.
Yeah, it's good to listen to while you're driving, really. I mean, not the sleeping part, but when you're driving a long distance, I really enjoyed listening to this music as well. I mean, even though it's our music, I try to put myself outside of that and listen to it, and it's like, wow, these guys are good, man. So if that's not a selling point, I don't know what is. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I mean, Philip has done a really good job in engineering and mixing and finding our sound, so to speak. So I can't wait for our next CD. We're going to be working on that one next. We have no titles, no names, and we have no direction yet.
So I only have a couple more minutes, and then we're going to hear you play. But I wanted to ask a couple quick questions. One, I love the titles of the songs. So Memories in the Wind, Raven Speaks. I'm just going to name a few. Water is Life, Before the Dawn, Sweet Sage Dreams, Field of Fireflies. What beautiful names. And thematic, like you were mentioning, and relaxing, and not putting you to sleep when you drive. But I can't wait to hear when you play. Do you have any upcoming concerts that you've got planned?
Well, at this moment, since it's late December, I'm taking a break. It's more about family time and enjoying the holidays. But as soon as the New Year happens and comes around, we will be playing at the Litchfield Park Gathering. It's an art market out there in Litchfield,
January?
Arizona. Yeah,
okay.
In January. And then we have a local to global justice studies event that we're going to be playing at. And I don't know if that's open to the public. It should be. I mean,
in the spring?
It's in January too.
Okay.
And then I'm start to travel again. I got another gig out in Colorado to fly out to, and that'll be fun.
So you guys
that's
have a lot
start.
planned.
So it happens it'll come in waves. Sometimes we have some downtime, and sometimes we're just busy. Because Philip works. He has a day job as well. Yeah. It's not all music and so on. I'm sure he can tell you that.
It sounded like it was all music. It's not.
No.
Okay.
No.
This is just your passion.
Yeah, it's I enjoy doing it, making music with Randy, and it's what I do for fun. It's my hobby. But it feels like it's turning into more than that. But it's I'm just going with the wind, so to speak. Wherever it blows us, and I'll be there.
I noticed that he has a new wardrobe now because it's going places.
You guys seem like a really good match. Okay, so before we close out and we hear you play, I want to find out, how can our listeners find more information about your music work, your upcoming events? How can they contact you? How can they purchase the CD? So let's start with website.
Tell them about our website, the one that they can purchase the CD from.
Well, you can get onto like a Bandcamp, it's called, and you could actually download the music for free. We have it right now for the Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
Actually, it's all year round now, but
Okay, on where?
it's called Bandcamp.
Bandcamp?
Yeah, you just put in it's a site for artists to self-publish.
Okay.
And
Never heard of that. All right.
Yeah, it's a great website, and we could monetize it. We may do that more in the future. We have done it in the past, but we just like getting the music out there. We just want to get the music out there with this disc, and you get on there, and you can find other musicians on there, as well. But
Bandcamp.org or Bandcamp.com?
I believe it's Bandcamp.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can go on there and download all these musics for free. I mean, that's a deal right there.
That is a deal. We'll have to put that in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you have a website or no?
Not necessarily, because
Okay.
we're still individuals in that sense. But
Okay.
you can go to my Instagram, which is randykemp.artist. I have some things on there about us, our music, and our progress, and so on. I also have a website called indigenousartmachine.com, which will also carry some of the other CDs and recordings that we have. So you can go to that site. I just wanted to plug, and you might have asked me about this before, about the voting for the CD in the recording. And you can go to NativeAmericanMusicAwards.com. And when you go to that site, all you have to do is look for our name and forget about all the other 200 plus.
So would it be your name, Randy Kemp and Phillip Empey, or would it be Artificial Red?
It's Artificial Red,
Okay.
and the title of the song,
Okay.
which is Raven Speaks. So
And then you just hit vote.
vote yes 100 times on that one.
Okay.
Vote,
I
you
think
get
I
your-
actually did that.
I
I did a bunch of votes for you. So
And we have something funny too about this voting thing. I submitted a video. It's supposed to be a live video, but I thought they just wanted a snippet of us playing, and so I submitted that, not knowing that it was a full category. So I submitted a recording that was only 59 seconds long of us playing. But you know what? It might be the best of what we are in that sense. It encapsulates what we are about. So go check that out. That's kind of fun.
59 seconds and you got nominated?
Yep.
Pretty amazing. That speaks to the caliber of your work. Okay, I know Javier's giving me the look that I'm out of time. So we're going to take a break and listen to the music. And Randy and Phil, do you know what you're going to play?
I think we're going to play the title track, Raven Speaks. And we'll just surprise you with maybe some other songs or something like that, a jingle.
Okay.
So
Sounds
all
good.
right.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing, and I encourage everybody to listen and go vote at Native American Music Awards, and then download it for free on bandcamp.com.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy. Sound engineer is Javier Quiroga. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listen2krdp.com.